Let's have a lovely little row about exclusives. Why are you in favor of exclusives over there in the corner?
I'll take a step back first. Let's all realize the fact that 20 years ago, there weren't as much artists as there are today. Fact. Let's also realize that the technologies that are here today are allowing more artists to create more music. Another fact. So today, if you release a song and you competed with 10 singles at the point of time 20 years ago, you're competing with at least 1 million tracks a day that are being released. So clutter and volume of music and choice, so discovery becomes extremely important. The reason I mention this is because brands, artists in themselves are brands. And unless they have a brand strategy to how they want to market their music, there's going to be two levels in which they do that. Number one is the rational way of doing it, right? What is the route that I'm going to follow in order for my track to stand out within the 1 million tracks that are being released today? And then there's the emotional leg to it. This is my song, my artist, my fans have the right. Fine. Every artist has a strategy, and some strategies work better than others, right? In our particular situation in MENA, we are the only on-demand music streaming service in the market with scale. We have a big responsibility for Anghami to kill piracy. That's what we stand for. We want to kill piracy. We're not going to be able to do that, but that's what we aim for.
We've all had to go for a while and it hasn't gone away. So don't feel bad about it.
So here's the thing. So artists needs to decide, I don't care if my music gets played on piracy, then please don't come crying to us if you don't make money.
But aren't we pushing them to piracy?
Let me go back to the parity piece, because I don't want to diverge to piracy, right? Let's stick to parity. So for us, with that in mind, every artist has a strategy, and they're free to give us exclusivity or not. For us, the strategy of exclusivity is a short-term strategy for us. We're not going to be doing this for years. We're doing it today because we want people to stop downloading it from whatever and coming to Anghami first. For us, it's the mentality of listening to it first on Anghami. So Anghami becomes a new habit of music, of people consuming music on an app. So there's a strategic game of growing the industry and why we do it. And with that in mind... Is that growing
the industry or growing the business? Because I think both. Those are two very separate things.
No, it's both. As the leader in the category and as a marketer, it's a very simple rule. If you're the leader if you're a leader of a category, you have the responsibility to grow the category, right? So with that in mind, we're going to ask for a 7-day, 3-day, 4-day, 2 weeks, depending on the artist and how they agree to it. But at the back of that, the level of support that we're putting on the table, yes, will give you the enough fame so that when you release it everywhere, people who are used to those servers are going to go there. It's going to allow us to get more users, yes. It's going to allow us to get more streams, yes. But it's going to give that artist more fame and more exposure than they're ever going to do on their own.
Which we know the services are like. Just a really quick question for you lot. How many of you have not been able to hear an album that you wanted to hear because it was on a service that you didn't subscribe to? So, I know that's just us in this industry. Although, given that the music industry, if we all got subscriptions to everything...
I wonder how many of those people then jumped onto another service.
That's a good question. So hands back up for that. Who couldn't listen to an album that they wanted to? Who then bought another subscription because they had to swap services? Yeah. You did? What album? You did the free chat? There we go, in the free chat. Everybody likes the free chat.
But let me say, Anghami today is a free service. People don't have to shift subscriptions to come to Anghami. In all cases, people in the Middle East are not subscribed anywhere to start with. So we have a different landscape.
We should point this out. Your market is very different to ours, and it is an emerging market, and we should make that distinguish.
Absolutely. So people don't have to log in to listen to music. People don't have to subscribe to listen to music.
Let's not start the free meme debate now.
They'll get a couple of ads, but at the end of the day, there is a game of us starting to shift people to build a habit of streaming music online. And if we at any point in time disagree that digital is the future, then this strategy is questionable, right? So, and just to put things in context, MENA, or the Middle East and North Africa, or whatever, is not Europe. It's not the States. Data is not as cheap. It's not as available. No. Piracy is huge. And there are 10 million other factors. So there is a game of education, and as the people who are sort of paving the way barefooted to sort of grow that habit, we need to grow that and say, look, you're not going to hear it on the radio. You're going to hear it first on Anghami. Oh, and what's Anghami? Hey, look, they have all the music, things get released there first. And artists have the choice whether they want to come exclusive or
we're
not.
saying all of this, and they do have the choice. And I think some have chose oddly, but they do have the choice generally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you said that artists and have to, to have a brand behavior, and that's why you think it's a good thing. I think artists becomes brands not by acting like brands, but by originally just being a great artist and being available to everyone. And then at that point, when they got that big support, they can act like a brand. I think that they do get great opportunity by choosing exclusivity, and the fact that it's a free service makes it better, because that means that even though it's an exclusivity, you get to listen to it anyway. But that only works if it stays like that. And I think exclusivity, if your first goal is to really promote an artist, it will be always a bit hypocritical to say, I want to push you. And I'm sure it helps a lot in some ways, but if you want to push an artist at his maximum level, you can really, even though they have the option, ask for an exclusivity.
It's their option.
And but especially for new artists, and this is what I wanted to touch on. For new artists, and I think James, you cited a specific example, and we're talking earlier. But if as a new artist, if you're on all of the services, and suddenly out of nowhere, for whatever reason, a song is getting some traction. Let's say on Spotify, for argument's sake, and the editors see that, they notice it, then they take that track to put it into a playlist. If you've locked your music anywhere, surely that wipes out half of that potential.
Absolutely,
Exactly.
yeah.
But hold on. Sorry. That cycle doesn't happen in 3 days or 7 days. That cycle takes months. No exclusivity in the world is months. When we're talking exclusivities, we're talking about windowing. We're talking about a 3-day pre-release, probably 7-day pre-release. Sometimes with established artists, we go for a 2-week pre-release. So let's rename the terminology. Here, we're not talking about hiding artist music, right? Here, we're talking about pre-releasing for an incentive. If you're an uprising star and you don't have the marketing engine to promote yourself or get the pre-release with Anghami, and we'll push it. I have no incentive in pushing 3 million artists. I can't afford it. It's not that I have no incentive. I can't afford pushing every person that says he's an artist. But we're all artists. We're either DJs in the company or keyboard players or singers or what have you. We all understand that process. But we also understand that today is not like 20 years ago. If I'm an artist, I need to promote myself, not go to the streaming service and say, well, you know what? I gave you my song. What are you going to do about it? By the way, streaming services probably make the least amount of money. All right? And the economics of music today are so fragmented, it's very hard. And the emotional aspect and the love and the passion for the music business gets people pointing at each other for money. But they all forget the fact that today we're in a stage where the whole music consumption habit is evolving. It hasn't settled, right? It's like a cup with water and sand, and you're stirring it and it's still foggy. It hasn't settled.